everybody? I'm Simon Sabro, and today I got for y'all my 5 favorite manga that I've read in the year 2021. So be sure to leave a like if you end up enjoying the video, subscribe to see more, and also comment down what's maybe your top 5 that you've read last year. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. And the first manga I got for y'all is Call of the Night by Kotoyama. And Call of the Night I've kind of talked about on the channel a little bit before, and this manga is a kind of rom-com gag manga about a boy named Ko, which is our main character, this guy right here, Ko, who has insomnia, so he has a hard time going to sleep at night. So one night he just wanders around the neighborhood and he ends up meeting a vampire named Nazuna. And Nazuna is, as I said, a vampire, and she just wants to drink his blood. That's how the story starts off. The comedy aspect of it mostly comes in from, well, the type of jokes that they tell is in a very sexual manner. So I wouldn't say it's not for everybody. I think it's a type of humor that just about anybody could understand. There are some jokes in here that would be very cringy. Some of the jokes are definitely very cringy, but some are actually pretty funny. I wouldn't say it's the funniest manga I've ever read, but it does a very good job at doing what it's trying to do. And the art in here by Kotoyama is really good for a gag manga, definitely. And it adds a nice type of aesthetic to the manga that you wouldn't see in other rom-com gag manga. So that alone makes it pretty unique, and that's really what drew me into the manga at first. Like, just the manga cover really drew me into the manga. So, and of course the manga cover is part of the art, but the art in here, like I said, really good. The story, it's, I want to say like 5 or 6 volumes out right now. I'm not exactly sure, but here's one of my favorite pages actually. This scene right here looks really cool, and I would definitely say the story, there's really, actually, yeah, eventually around volume 3, I want to say, there becomes a more overarching story of, or actually I think later in this volume, I might be wrong, but there's kind of 2 main stories at play. And the first one that you're introduced to is that the main character, Ko, wants to become a vampire as well. And the only way he would be able to become a vampire is to fall in love with another vampire, which he wants to be Nazuna, of course. And so far, it hasn't happened, but he's trying to get there. And that's the first overarching plot. The second one, I'm not really going to say anything about, because, you know, if you decide to pick up the manga, I want you to have something to experience. But yeah, overall, I did definitely enjoy this manga. The character designs are really cool. The jokes can be very hit or miss, but even the cringier ones can sometimes be just a little bit funny, you know, just a tad bit. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say for Call of the Night. I don't want to sit on one manga too long because we got a good amount to get through. So the next one we have, also, these manga aren't in order from favorite to least favorite. Out of the 5, there are 2 on here, I believe, that didn't come out last year but came out way before last year, 2021. And 3 of them are gonna have came out in 2021. So with that out of the way, sorry I forgot to mention that earlier, but the next one is Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead by Haro Aso. And you've probably heard a lot about this manga, not just from me, but just in general. With the release of Zom 100, it was promoted really heavily by Viz Media, and I think at a point they were actually like sponsoring people to talk about it. Don't quote me on that, I just think so. But Real quick, actually, Haro Aso, the story writer, is actually, I believe, the same person that made Alice in Borderland. He writes the story for it, and Alice in Borderland is actually getting an English release later this year, I believe, and I'm really excited for that. The artist I'm not too familiar with. I think he did one other manga that was published in English. I can't remember the name, but he did do one other manga. And the Zom 100 is another comedy story. I would definitely say, in my opinion, of course, this is way funnier than Call of the Night. But it's about a zombie story, and it's about our protagonist here, Akira. Forgot his last name, but Akira is his first name, and he works. I think in the manga they call it like a black company. I think that's what they call it, which is basically a company that mistreats their employees, basically. And the work circumstances there are terrible. Like, he's pulling all-nighters like 2 weeks in a row, stuff like that. He's barely able to go home, and he overall feels like a zombie working there. So then one day there is a zombie breakout, and the irony comes from that through the zombie breakout, he now begins to feel more alive than before the breakout, because now he doesn't have to work anymore, and he can kind of just live his life how he wants to. And so, like right here, he says, I don't have to go to work anymore. And with that realization, like I said, he feels liberated that he doesn't have to go to work anymore, despite the situation of the world, you know, with zombies and stuff. And this was a manga I was actually pretty iffy on when it first got released, like I said, because Viz Media was promoting this super heavy. So I was thinking maybe the sales weren't too good or something, so they were just trying to promote it. But this manga is actually really good. It's 4 volumes. I think the 4th volume just came out. 4th or 5th, I don't really remember. But it just came out, and it's a really good manga so far. Would definitely recommend it. But back onto the plot. Sorry, I forgot to finish. But the main character, Akira, begins to... What he does is he makes a list where, basically a bucket list of 100 things he wants to do before turning into a zombie. And that is really the main plot of the story. Him just doing all of those 100 things and adding more to the list as he goes on. And just living his life to his best. And eventually there becomes a bigger cast of characters. I want to say one of them appears in this volume, actually. So this character, I forgot her name, unfortunately. I don't think they even said her name until like volume 2 or 3, but she's a really cool character where she actually would be like, actually, nah, I'm not gonna spoil it. But she's a very good character, very interesting, entertaining. And dang, I wish I could find the other character, but real quick, the art in here, I don't know if I've said it already, the art in here is really good. Once again, I'm not too familiar with the artist. He does have one other manga that I unfortunately cannot remember. But okay, so dang, the other character does appear in this book. Okay, good. And the character is Akira's old friend. I couldn't really find a bigger picture of him right now, but he's Akira's old friend from way back, and they weren't able to talk to each other because of they were just both busy with work, this character here. And really, overall, this manga is really good. It's funny, the story is great, the characters are great. Definitely recommend this if you want a good laugh. Like I said, you've probably heard about it from other manga tubers or just Viz Media's promotion of it. But that's it for Zom 100. Now, the next manga we have is one that did not come out in 2021, but one that I did read in 2021, and that is Aisha 21, actually. And the story is by Riichiro Inagaki, which, if you don't know, is the same person who wrote the story for Dr. Stone. and the artist is Yusuke Murata, who wrote or did the art for One Punch Man. And I apologize, my book is a little cooked, so the pages aren't going to look too good. But the story is about football, American football to be exact. And I personally was never into football. I'm still really not into football, but even despite that, reading this manga, I still was able to fully enjoy it. It does take the time to explain the rules and stuff. And the story is about our character here, whose name is Sena Kobayakawa, sorry. And Sena is a really fast runner because when he was in school, I forgot what grade they're in, I want to say high school, but during his earlier years in school, he would be like, you've seen it in a bunch of other anime and manga, but he was the character that would like run and go get people lunch and stuff. So because of that, he is a really fast runner in high school. So the football team recruits him, and the story goes from there. And at first, he doesn't want to play football because he doesn't want to do anything that's too dangerous because he's a very scared person. And usually his friend, if I could find a picture, his friend would normally be the type of person to protect him whenever he was like in a bad situation. But there she is. But as you know, her name is Mamori, I think. And of course, the art by Yusuke Murata is good. Definitely not as good as One Punch Man art, of course, because One Punch Man is way more recent, but it's still pretty good art, especially in the more action moments. And this character is another one of the main characters. His name is Hiruma, and he is my favorite character by far. And he adds so much comedy to the manga, and he's also part of the football team. He's the quarterback, if you're familiar with the terms. He's the quarterback on the football team, which is the person that throws the ball. And he's pretty much the leader as well. And starting out, there's only 2 members of the football team, being Hiruma and Kurita, if you can see him here. And they're just trying to recruit more people so that they can actually participate in tournaments and stuff. And the team name is called the Damon Devilbats. And as the manga progresses, you get to watch the team get way more members, and all of the characters grow, and it's really good. The manga is 37 volumes long, I want to say. So it's a lot of volumes, and most of it is out of print, so it is going to be hard to get your hands on if you plan on picking it up. But like I said, Sena joins the football team not of his own accord. Hiruma kind of blackmails him into it, and he joins as iShield 21. And like I said, if you're just looking for a sports manga that's really good from start to finish, the art gets better as the manga goes on. The character writing is really good. If you just like Dr. Stone, you could definitely see some hints of Dr. Stone in here, and vice versa, of course. Or you're just a fan of Yusuke Murata's art, then I would definitely recommend this manga to really anybody, even if you're not familiar with sports. If you're new to manga, I would definitely recommend this to anybody. But as I said, unfortunately, it is mostly out of print, so I know that not everybody could get their hands on the physicals at least. But that's it for iShield 21. Let's get into our next pick. And actually, I have an honorable mention before we get into the last 2. And that honorable mention is Burn the Witch by Kubo Tite. Now, the reason this is in the honorable mention slot is not because I enjoyed it less. I mean, I kind of did, but only because I read this is a slipcover, by the way, but because I read the special one-shot when it first came out, and I also read the 4 chapters after that when those came out, and I watched the anime, so I already knew really everything this series had to offer, and that really led to me enjoying it a bit less than the others, because everything else I had almost no prior knowledge on. And it has this little poster, I guess to call it, but it looks really cool. It does have art on the front and the back of it. I'll show you the back just now. But this manga, I would definitely recommend it to really anybody. It's really simple. It's about it's set in a world where there's dragons and magic and stuff like that, and there's these two girls named this one, her name is Noelle, or rather Noelle and Nini. I think I pronounced the name right, hopefully Nini. And they're both have their own objectives. Noelle's objective is to make a lot of money, and Nini's objective is to be famous. That's kind of it. But they go around saving people and killing dragons. That's kind of the whole book. The art is of course by Kubo Tite. If you're familiar, like if you've been on my channel a lot, you would know Kubo is one of my favorite mangaka. So I definitely had to buy this despite knowing really everything about this front and back. It is just this one single volume. There's nothing more to it than this. But even then, I wish Kubo would continue this story, but it seems like he's gonna continue Bleach, hopefully. But I would have rathered him do this story. I do love Bleach, but seeing something new would have been nice. But I would definitely recommend Burn the Witch. I don't really have too much to talk about on it. So let's get into our top 2 picks. And actually for our second pick, or second to last pick, sorry, is a manga I've definitely talked about before, which is Can't Stop Cursing You. And the mangaka I'm not really familiar with. I don't know if this is their first manga or if they have anything out in English at least, but the art and the story is done by 2 different people. I'm not familiar with either of them, honestly, but they did a really good job on this volume 1. I haven't read volume 2 yet. I'm really excited to, but this manga is about, so there's a little bit of, I apologize if I explain this in a bad way. It is kind of hard to explain, but there's 2 types of powers, which I think it's called Curse Breakers and Curse Killers. I think that was the name of it. And the Curse Killers are basically like, imagine like having a Death Note, but with extra stipulations on top. For those that might not be familiar with Death Note, it is a book where if you write someone's name in it, the person that you wrote would die. So it's kind of similar to that, a little bit more, well, a lot more supernatural kind of. And then the Curse Breakers are basically like detectives who have special abilities to solve the case, basically. So it's a nice cat and mouse story, which are really some of my favorite types of stories. I love suspense, I love mind games, all of that stuff. So, and this manga is actually definitely one that I did enjoy the most last year, and it's kind of really hard to talk about because this volume 1 is, while it does contain a full, like it's part of the bigger story, it's kind of like this volume 1 is very self-contained, kind of like it finishes an entire story arc in just this volume 1. So it's kind of hard to talk about volume 1 without really spoiling the story, because it uses really every page and every piece of dialogue to build towards the final story. So it's kind of hard to talk about without ruining the experience. And overall, it's a story I went into with no knowledge, and I feel like that's probably the best way to enjoy the story. But this guy here is our main character, whose name I unfortunately forgot, but he is a teacher at this high school, and he is one of the Curse Breakers, so one of the detectives, and he's basically just solving the murder mysteries of everyone else. Or let me not say it that way, but he solves the murder mysteries at the school, and in this volume at least. I'm pretty sure in volume 2 and later on it'll be outside of the school. But the art in here is really good. It's really dark and works well with the story. The story just off of volume 1, also really good. And once again, I know it's kind of hard for me to recommend this really because, like I said, it's hard to talk about it too much without spoiling too much. But if somehow my pretty bad explanation was able to, influence you a bit to pick up the story or at least check it out, definitely do go and check it out. But our last pick, and man, this manga is something special. And if you're familiar with my channel, I do say a lot that I'm not a fan of both vampires and zombie stories, but this one right here, this changed that for real, and that is I Am a Hero, of course. And I Am a Hero is really like the best manga I've read last year, and the one I enjoyed the most. And this manga is by Kengo Hanazawa, and to my knowledge, Kengo Hanazawa doesn't have any other manga in English, at least, which is kind of unfortunate because just off of this manga, I really fell in love with his style of storytelling, assuming the rest of his manga are similar to this. And I'm a Hero is, as you guess, another zombie story, but about our character here, whose name is Hideo Shizuka. I think that was his last name, but I know his first name for sure is Hideo. And Hideo is a character that is very perfectly imperfect. And by what I mean by that, real quick, this is some of the funniest parts. Hideo is a really funny character, and the art in here really helps promote that. Like his kind of slideshow kind of art style, I guess. I don't know how to really describe it, but like I said, Hideo is perfectly imperfect. And if you've ever read Berserk by the late Kentaro Miura, I hope I said his last name right, but if you've read Berserk by him, then you would know that Guts is also a very perfectly imperfect character, meaning these are the type of characters, not like your shonen pro tags who are like always cheery, power of friendship kind of thing, but he feels more realistic. An example of that showed very early on is he has hallucinations, and I'm not saying just throwing hallucinations on your character makes them feel more real, but the way it's done is such a beautiful way. And on top of that, he is also afraid of ghosts, and him being afraid of ghosts plays into the story. Well, really not just ghosts, but he's just a scaredy cat in general. And because of that, like I said, it could create some really funny and intense moments of Hideo really just scaring himself. And here's an example of that, and his hallucinations don't make it any better. But overall, the story is about, of course, there's a zombie outbreak, and Hideo is one of the few people, well, the way the story makes it, I want to say he's like the only person in Japan who owns a gun, and he actually has a proper gun license. And at first, especially me, I live in America, something like this I can't really relate to because in America it's like really, a gun isn't that uncommon. So at first I was like, okay, well that's cool, whatever. But as the story progresses, and with the type of person Hideo is, and this is such a beautiful two page right here. This is so beautiful. And the type of person Hideo is, despite the severity of the situation the world is in, he refuses to lend anybody else his gun because it's illegal. Even though later on the defense forces, the police, all of that are no longer really available anymore. So him doing it wouldn't lead to any consequences. But before the zombie outbreak, Hideo is just a regular person really, and he is a mangaka's assistant. Well, yeah, he's an assistant because he tried to make manga before, but that didn't really work out for him. I'm not really allowed to say the name of his first manga, but if you do read this manga, then you would know. And it's really, his life before the outbreak wasn't really that good. He had a girlfriend that was more interested in her ex because her ex was a successful mangaka. Meanwhile, Hideo was a very unsuccessful mangaka, and he works as an assistant, like I said. On top of that, he really just had nothing really going on for him, and he felt like he wasn't in control of his own life. And that him feeling like he's not in control of his own life can be very relatable to a lot of people. And the mangaka Kengo Hanazawa displays that very well, as far as, like I said, how real of a character Hideo is and how real of a character he can be. Especially as the story progresses, he begins to feel more alive, for lack of a better term. But he's very well written, as well as the other characters in the manga. And just as a little warning, this manga does take a really long time for things to actually start running, and the exposition is really flushed out. Like, there's a lot of exposition in here, but it's all worth it for building up Hideo to be the protagonist, really. And throughout the story, Hideo will often say, like, I am a hero, or I'm gonna be a hero, things like that, because he just, one, it's a play on his name, Hideo, hero kind of thing. But also, as you can see here, he says, I don't have to be the protagonist. I don't have to be the hero, but at least let me be the protagonist of my own life. And that saying really sticks with Hideo throughout the manga. But I don't want to say too much. It is 11 volumes. I believe it did all just come back in print on Right Stuff. Most of it was out of print. I don't know how hard the volumes are to find right now, but it is 11 volumes. And I would definitely recommend this manga to really anybody. Like I said, I'm not too much a fan of zombie stories, but I did manage to enjoy that one a lot. And once again, all of these manga that I talked about here, I would definitely recommend to almost anybody, honestly. Whether you're just looking for something new, something funny, something, you know, got a little bit of everything going on here. So I would definitely recommend these. But that is all from me. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to see more. Hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Don't forget to comment down your top 5 manga of 2021, whether you read it or it came out last year. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram at Simon Sabro YT. But once again, that's all for me. I'll catch you on the next one. This is Simon Sabro signing out.